It's time now for County-Wide, a presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. You'll hear about the interesting issues and happenings that affect all our lives. Here's today's County-Wide.
Well, a good day and welcome to the program. It is County-Wide. I'm Brad Miller. We're very happy to welcome via Zoom today a very busy Yavapai County recorder, as our ballots will be hitting the mails pretty soon. Early voting beginning very quickly for the big November 5th election, and that is Michelle Burchill, Yavapai County recorder. Michelle, once again, thank you for joining us at a very a busy time for you and your office.
You are very welcome. I appreciate you having me on.
There's a lot of things every day that goes by. It seems like there's more business to take care of. Certainly there is on your end, but voters are getting concerned, and understandably so, as the election draws closer. Decisions have to be made. Do we vote in person? Have we already signed up to vote early? And those kinds of things have happened. But there's also items that pop up in the news, and that's what I'd like to chat about today. Very recently, an issue came up. Now, it sounds like at the state legislative level, it's kind of been ironed out, but it sure confused the dickens out of me, and I immediately reached out to you, and now I'd like you to kind of help us understand that. And that was, if I'm even getting it right, through the Motor Vehicle Division, folks who had driver's licenses reissued may not have had to provide citizenship information. Therefore, that stood to potentially taint their citizenship status when it comes time to vote. Am I even close to what the problem was?
That's close. Yes, we had been notified last week that the Motor Vehicle Department had a coding error. And this mainly was to do with Arizonans, longtime Arizonans, who have had a driver's license prior to October of 1996. And then at some point either lost or requested a duplicate license at a later date. And they had an error code when it came to providing proof of citizenship. And this affects about 98,000 registrants. But the Supreme Court pretty much made an emergency ruling on behalf of the Secretary of State and the voters, obviously. And they have instructed us that we will deal with this after the election. Nobody is going to be affected by this as far as the voters are concerned. So right now, our focus is on this election, getting through this, and then any of those voters that may be affected by this coding error will be reached out to by our office after the election.
So for this election, they really don't need to do anything differently. And then it'll be, things will be kind of amended. Okay. Do you even know how did this kind of pop up? What red flag got sent up that kind of led to this matter?
My understanding is Maricopa County was processing a voter, and they found the glitch. And this is a 20-year-old issue, I guess. And this one voter actually affected however they figured this out. So it has something to do with specifically a voter who got a replacement license, not a renewal license, right? So they didn't have to go in at a later date and show their birth certificate or show their passport, because as of October of 1996 is when Arizona began requiring proof of citizenship to receive a ID or license here in Arizona. And then, of course, Prop 200 was passed in 2004, which was the voters deciding that anybody registered in state elections here in Arizona is required to show documented proof of citizenship.
Right.
So it affected a specific amount of people and a specific age group, really, that the motor vehicles pretty much had an error showing that all these people that received a replacement license had also provided their documented proof of citizenship. But that technically wasn't the case, because it was a replacement, not a renewed license or a new license. So those people that are prior to 1996 or 96 of October were actually grandfathered into the voter registration system due to that proposition that passed at a later date. But Yavapai County, I think the overall amount was going to be about 4,800 of our voters that were on this list. But now there's going to be a lot of legwork on our side because those voters may have individually given us their documented proof of citizenship outside of the motor vehicle department. So we will notify each of those voters after the election, after the canvass, and start making sure that all of those voters are getting us the information that they need so they can continue to be full ballot voters here in our county.
Okay. Are you concerned that some folks, after 2016 to some extent, after 2020 to an extraordinary extent, voter integrity, security at the polls, voting all of the kind of bubble and boil that has happened since 2020 and continues as we go into this election, that this item is going to pop up in the news. It is difficult to understand. You've explained it very, very clearly, but that some voters are going to say, well, look, there's one more voter integrity issue. Now that's going to be a thing. You know what I mean? Does it in any way, are you worried that it's undermining right now, some weeks yet away from our election, that here's, oh gosh, just one more thing that someone is getting away with? Are you worried voters are going to be overly concerned about the problem you just described?
Well, of course. And voters have a right to be. Anymore, everything we see when it comes to elections, people are paying attention. People are concerned about what's going on, not only in our own county, our own state, but the country overall. And so people have a right to be skeptical over things when it seems like every time we turn around, there's something else that's making the news. A glitch, an error, just something else in the voter realm that, concerns people. So I absolutely understand that. I sympathize with that. I'm confused half the time when we're seeing and hearing things out there. So of course, it's going to add to the skepticism of, what's happening within our voter rolls or what's happening within an election. And I understand why people feel that way. The only thing we can continue to do is be transparent about it. I've always said since I got into this, the elections world, that I feel one of the biggest things we can do on our side is to actually communicate to our voters. And if we find something wrong, we need to let the voters know, and we need to tell them how we're going to fix it or how it's being addressed. And I think that goes a long way for people. Instead of just saying, oh, there's nothing to see here. We really have a duty to, we work for the people. And we have a duty to make sure that the people are, getting the information directly from us instead of, just a social media post from somebody. So I will always do my best to try to explain to the best of my ability what's going on, especially when it pertains to Yavapai County and my voters.
All right, and we appreciate that, and we need to take a short break. When we come back, I'd like to ask about something else that has kind of boiled up, even just today, popping up in the news here in recent days, and that is about canvassing the election after the fact and how that'll work, and some concerns from state officials, not just in Arizona, but in a number of the so-called battleground states, that some counties individually may choose not to have their election results certified. We'll talk with our county recorder, Michelle Burchill, when we come back to Countywide right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley, and your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates Locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdisolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Thank you so very much for your generosity and kindness in helping others. I hope that you take advantage of the many Arizona state tax credits available when giving to qualified charities and schools. If you haven't taken advantage, I hope you'll ask your favorite charity if they qualify. You can go to Arizona Department of Revenue website, search for tax credits, and look at the list of qualifying charities. Then look at your latest Arizona income tax return and see how an Arizona tax credit can benefit many. This is Lewis saying thanks again.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
We welcome you back to the program. I'm Brad Miller. It is countywide, and again, joining us via Zoom today. Very, very busy at this time of year, all the time, but especially as we have elections coming up, and a major one on November 5th. Michelle Burchill is our Yavapai County recorder. Michelle, there's an item, you and I are recording this show on September 24th, and there was an item actually in the USA Today this morning. I'm going to read a quote out of that and then kind of get a response from you. Lisa Mara is the Arizona Elections Director and Assistant to the Secretary of State Fontes. And she says in this story that is talking about not only Arizona, but some of the other so-called battleground states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and some of the others, including Arizona. The state, this is the quote, the state would sue to get them, meaning counties, to canvass the election. If they refuse to canvass at this point, we'd go back to court and the state could actually move forward without those results. And this is states, secretaries of state and other elections officials talking about some specific individual counties in those battleground states have made maybe some assertions or hinted that on a county-by-county level, they will choose not to canvass and or certify election results, which could obviously affect state overall totals. Do you see that as a problem in either Yavapai County or Arizona? What are you hearing from some of the other counties?
Well, we know we did see this, I believe it was in 2022, down in Cochise County, possibly, where they were not wanting to, the board or the Board of Supervisors did not want to canvass the election. I believe they were attempting to do an additional audit or hand count or something to that effect, possibly. And they were threatened with lawsuits if they didn't canvass. My understanding is that canvassing the election, according to the Board of Supervisors, is not discretional. Like, this is a duty that they're required to do. And pretty much they have to canvass our results in order for our results to be canvassed by the Secretary of State. Right. So I believe back in 2022, when this was kind of going around, you know, different counties, even throughout the U.S., not just Arizona, there was even conversation that if a county truly refused to canvass their results and accept the results of that county, that the Secretary of State could certify without that county's votes being included, which obviously talk about voter disenfranchisement. You know, I could imagine if something like that were to happen, say, you know, in Yavapai or Mojave or Coconino or any of these states or any of these counties, if one of our counties was not included with how close some of these races are, that could have absolutely impacted who won or lost one of these big ticket races. Right. So it definitely would be unfortunate. I would hope that as long as, you know, we are going to our board as every other recorder and elections director do throughout the state and say, hey, here is how the results turned out. This is what was good. This was what we had a hiccup with, but our results are coming out accurate. as far as how many voters actually checked in to vote and how many ballots were cast, and, the numbers match. I would hope that wouldn't be a issue. Again, we've already seen this be tried here in Arizona, so I don't foresee it being an issue here because we've seen the results and aftermath of that.
Right.
But, I'm just praying that we are all on the same page. We are doing everything we can and taking every single precaution that we can to make sure that every voter has an opportunity to vote. And we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that every ballot cast is accounted for and that our results come out as accurate as possible, as Yavapai always does.
Now, let me do this, and I'm going to ask you to kind of speculate on something, which is really not fair of me to do, and we'll understand that that's all it is, because you got no crystal ball any more than anybody else does. But let me see if I can just kind of encapsulate what this is. This, to me, sounds like the secretaries of state of Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan are the ones mentioned specifically in the story, are setting up legal mechanisms to compel counties to canvass and certify their election results if indeed any of those breakout counties individually would attempt not to. Is that what this is? They're kind of getting the legal apparatus in place in case some rogue county in Pennsylvania says, no, we don't like what happened, we're not going to certify.
That's what it sounds like, according to the
that's how I read it.
The piece that we're talking about. That's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like they're getting prepared in case there's a rogue board that says, hey, we don't like the outcome of this. We're not going to do our part and certify it. Now, I understand if something major happened where, say, in our county specifically, for Yavapai County, if at the end of the election, our numbers weren't jiving, something wasn't right.
Sure.
Just from a moral standpoint, I would absolutely be going to our board along with our elections director and saying, hey, we have a problem. We're having an issue with something, or our numbers aren't matching. We don't want to submit you to canvass this election right now, because how unfair would that be for us to be asking them to certify something when we are not backing what the results are, based on our work.
Right.
Obviously, if everything goes as planned, which it should and has consistently in Yavapai County, and I went to my board and said, hey, everything is great. We have our numbers match completely. There were no major issues that happened that would have impacted, the voters in any way. And they refused to canvass, that would be unfortunate for me on my side, because I'm working so hard to administer this election. And then for them to say, hey, we're not going to accept these results and potentially risk disenfranchising my 167,000 voters, that would be a problem.
Right.
So it really is, going to be, in my personal opinion, based on all of that, if there's something that comes up that there's truly a reason that there shouldn't be a canvass happening because, say, the results don't match, then there are things in Arizona statute that allow, we have to go an additional day. We have to go an additional day and give or allow time for the county to figure out what that discrepancy is.
Right. And it seems like, I think most reasonable people would understand if there was, say, a widespread power outage in a given county or something that directly impacted people's ability to vote on the day or something like that. And I think that's what you're saying. This seems to be addressing something that simply, if there's, they use the word rogue, a rogue county board in, like I said, Michigan, say, in one small county in the corner of Michigan or Pennsylvania or somewhere that just says, no, we don't like how it went. There's going to be a legal maneuver at the ready to compel them to certify so that the election results can. Everybody wants the election results as accurate as they can, set firstly, absolutely. I think, and then as early as they can, secondly. We're talking with our Yavapai County recorder, Michelle Burchill. It's county-wide. We need to take a short break. When we come back, Michelle, I'm going to kind of talk just very briefly at the end of the show here. Early ballots will be hitting the mail very, very soon. We're back to county-wide right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley, and your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology, factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Thank you so very much for your generosity and kindness in helping others. I hope that you take advantage of the many Arizona state tax credits available when giving to qualified charities and schools. If you haven't taken advantage, I hope you'll ask your favorite charity if they qualify. You can go to Arizona Department of Revenue website, search for tax credits, and look at the list of qualifying charities. Then look at your latest Arizona income tax return and see how an Arizona tax credit can benefit many. This is Lewis saying thanks again.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau property and casualty insurance company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
A good day once again, and welcome back to the program. I'm Brad Miller, and on Zoom this morning, we appreciate Yavapai County Recorder Michelle Burchill helping us sort through some of the complicated things that is voting and going to the polls, counting the votes, tabulating them for a free, fair, and honest election in 2024. There's so many moving parts and different pieces, and everybody's got to do it all on the same day or in the same time period all the way across the country. It's understandable that it can be complicated and confusing.
Go to my.arizona.vote to double check your registration. I always say trust but verify.
Okay.
Make sure your information is up to date. You could go to Service Arizona to register if you have not already registered. And of course, come to any of our offices if need be. But the first day of early voting is actually October 9th. That is the day that our early voting sites will be officially open for those who want to have a traditional voting experience in person. And that is the day that we will be mailing out ballots to all of those who have requested one or are on our active early voting list. A couple things just to really think about and pay attention to. You're going to receive a lot of third-party organizations sending you information saying, hey, we heard you may not be registered, or hey, sign up to get on the early ballot list. We are not sending out any of that information to you. Double check your voter registration. It's not coming from Yavapai County. So as long as you know that you've checked your registration, you do not need to be filling out any third-party paperwork. And then also, this is going to be the first time in a long time, the first time any of us working here in Yavapai elections, that you're going to have a 2-page double-sided ballot. So you're going to have pretty much 4 sides that you're going to be voting on. It's a long ballot. Have a plan. Do your research ahead of time. It's going to take time to vote. Make sure to send both pages back. We need to have both sides, both pages specifically back in order to have our counts accurate. And then, of course, flip it, don't skip it. Make sure you're turning it over because the information that you may be looking for may be on the back as far as a specific proposition that you're looking for or a specific race. And if you are going to mail back your ballot, please mail it back as soon as possible. I have had over 350 ballots come in as late as this week already again from the previous primary election.
Oh my.
So if you are mailing it back, send it back in plenty of time. If not, save the taxpayer some money. give me a better chain of custody option and drop it in one of our 19 drop boxes throughout the county.
Okay, so much to think about, so much to consider, and we really appreciate it. So our county recorder is Michelle Burchill. I'm Brad Miller. It's Countywide, and we'll talk to you next time.
This has been Countywide. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday at this time. If you have a topic or guest idea that you'd like to suggest, email us, news@myradioplace.com.